I got to give Sophie Cunningham credit. I can't believe she actually said this out loud.
Well, if there's one thing we can count on, it's Sophie Cunningham to give us the truth about what's going on with the Fever. And with all the backlash that Stephanie White is getting right now, what Sophie just shared isn't going to help the coach's cause one bit. If anything, it's going to make you wonder
what actually goes on in practice.
The Fever have been in damage control mode since that heated sideline interaction between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. Then they added fuel to the fire by revoking Scott Agnes's press pass, and no matter what the official reason was, the optics are terrible, because from the outside, it makes it look like the organization does not want inconvenient truths getting out. And speaking of inconvenient truths, Sophie just dropped some inside baseball about the issues plaguing the Fever that were clearly not supposed to become public.
She said what came into her head, she said what she wanted to say, and I would assume people in the org are not happy with this situation.
Let's get into it. And as we go through the video, tell me in the comments, do you think it's time for Stephanie White to go? Drop a Y or an N in the comments to let me know. So the frustration with Stephanie White didn't just appear out of nowhere. There have been complaints building since last season about how she uses Caitlin Clark, about her rotations, about her inability to lean into what's clearly working, and now at this point, everything she does is just under the microscope. And then came the game against Portland where the Fever got picked apart. And what stood out wasn't just that fans were frustrated, it's that analysts were overwhelmingly challenging Steph White, asking the same question. Why are you subbing out Caitlin Clark just a few minutes into the game when she's clearly starting to heat up? Even the most neutral, objective, don't want to call anyone out voices were calling it out.
And around the 3-minute mark, she gets subbed out again after scoring or assisting on every single play. And y'all know that I'm not one to talk a lot of smack on people, any one particular player. I will call out the obvious when I see it. There's nothing about that coaching in the first quarter that I can defend. Subbing the hot hand out 3 minutes in the first quarter feels a little soft.
So now you've got the coaching under a microscope. You've got Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White downplaying that sideline blow-up. You've got the Fever seemingly trying to control the narrative. And then Sophie Cunningham basically throws caution to the wind and calls out exactly what's wrong with the team.
Something that's hurting us right now is we're only playing one defensive scheme, and in this league, it's too good. You can't, and people are going to pick us apart. And so, we got to dial in. We got to focus. Your IQ has to be on point. You have to know what schemes we're doing, and if you can't do that, then you can't play. And that's the point where we're at right now.
So that's a pretty damning statement because, yeah, if you defend the same way every game and you can't adapt, teams are going to figure you out and eat you alive. But it gets worse than that because what she said next heavily implies the team does have more than one defensive scheme. They just can't do it.
Why do you think you guys have less installed? I mean, the offseason was short, you have newer players. Is there a reason for that?
For the defense?
Yeah.
We're just not able to execute right now. It's...
you just can't get to them. You don't have them at all.
Yeah, we have them. We have a ton of them. We try to do them, but they just break down because we can't execute. And when I say that, maybe 3 people can execute, but if those other 2 players can't, it's a breakdown on defense. And so 1 through 5, it's hard. Defense is hard, and we all just have to kind of, commit ourselves to doing hard stuff. And if you want to win, then you have to do hard stuff.
So now you're 20% into the season and you apparently have players who still cannot execute most defensive schemes. And that begs the obvious question, how is that possible? Because this is not some completely brand new roster. The Fever's core came back, and yes, there are a couple of younger players, but most of the players they brought in are vets. And one of them, Ty Harris, played under Stephanie White before. So if the issue is that certain players cannot execute the schemes, then you have to ask why. Is this a personnel problem? Did the Fever front office bring in players who cannot do what this coaching staff wants to do? Or is this a coaching problem? Because Steph White is supposed to be a defensive coach, yet one scheme? Well, whatever the reason, it's gotten bad enough internally that, according to Sophie, the team basically had to have their come to Jesus moment.
We had a long meeting yesterday. It was a really good meeting, and so hopefully we've kind of turned the page and everyone is kind of on the same page now, and so hopefully Thursday you guys will notice that.
What were the kinds of things you talked about in that meeting yesterday?
Just what everyone's kind of feeling, where we need to be, what our identity is, offensively, where we're struggling, defensively, where is the breakdown. And so we literally, I think we were in there for like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, and we peeled back all the layers. And so I think everyone's on a good page right now, and we're ready to work.
Look, I'm not going to sound the alarm just because the players had a meeting. If you're struggling, and they clearly are, sometimes that is exactly what needs to happen. It's better than not addressing it at all. But this was not something everyone wanted to be shared with the press. Just listen to how Kelsey Mitchell reacted when she was asked about it.
We were talking to Sophie about just the level of frustration with the group right now. You guys had a meeting yesterday. How would you assess where the mood is at with the team and how you guys move on from those 2 losses? Sophie told us.
Clearly, she did not think she was going to have to talk about this meeting publicly, and you can tell she was choosing her words very carefully. But even with her caution, a few things slipped through. And the more you listen to what she actually said, the more it raises some pretty serious red flags.
Did it feel productive to you?
I think so. I think it's about being honest with yourself. I think our culture has been tested, like to figure out if we actually truly intentional about who we say we want to be, and only time will tell,
When a veteran player starts talking about culture in the middle of a rough stretch, it's no longer about missed shots and mental lapses. It's about accountability and teammates not buying in or putting in a full effort. And I'm not saying that means the Fever locker room is falling apart, but when you hear Kelsey Mitchell say time will tell when she's asked whether these issues can actually get sorted out, that does not exactly scream confidence that issues will actually be resolved. So we have Sophie calling it out, Kelsey calling it out. Now, at this point, all eyes were on Stephanie White, and she confirmed they've had to go back to basics.
Sophie talked about only having one defensive scheme that you guys were able to execute, and how that teams are able to kind of pick that apart. How do you as a coaching staff get it so you're able to fully install more defensive schemes to be able to?
Yeah, I think we had an opportunity based on matchup to really try to hone in on one. When you're not executing a lot of things really well, you want to scale back and try to execute 1 or 2 really well and sort of get a mindset and get some confidence. But then you got to be able to expand, and I think part of that is challenging them to be able to do that and do that consistently. I think part of that's ownership, of our players to be able to do it. Again, we have a lot of new players who are playing, who have been in different kinds of systems and who've been asked to do different things.
Listen, these are players who are being paid real money now. The expectations are different. And with Caitlin Clark on the team, every single thing the Fever do is being watched, clipped, analyzed, and debated in real time. So when the message coming out is basically, we can only play a limited version of our defense right now, that is a huge statement for a defensive coach to make, and it's going to lead to a lot of questions. And when you're having meetings about ongoing issues and team culture, something's broken, especially given how Sophie just said that last season, the team was playing something like 10 different defensive schemes. Again, not saying it can't be turned around, Sophie seemed positive about it, but positive or not, the problems she described don't fix themselves, and at some point, the accountability has to land somewhere.
And you hope that meeting was that come to Jesus meeting, like a turning point where things can get, settled and resolved, where you can figure out who can play. Because Stephanie White needs to figure out the rotations. Like, you can't just try all these lineups all the time. Who are the people that are playing? When are they playing? When are they subbing in? When are they subbing out? That should become uniform or close to uniform. Obviously, you always adjust based on what's going on, but there should be a level of, a pattern there, a correct pattern there.
At the end of the day, the coach is the leader. It is Stephanie White's job to get the most out of her players. It's her job to make the pieces fit. It's her job to make sure the locker room is connected, the schemes are understood, and the team is prepared to adjust when things are not working. And look, Everyone gave her full credit last season for taking that injury-depleted Fever team to within a game of the finals, and she deserved credit for that. But the flip side is, when things go bad, the coach does not get to dodge accountability, because when you're playing a limited defense, when players are talking about culture issues, when veterans are saying time will tell about whether things can get fixed, and when you have heated sideline blowups with your franchise star, then yeah, you're going to be on the hot seat.
She's got to realize it now, that these are important times for her, and to not be so stubborn.
Now, I know there was that fake Centel-ish report about Stephanie White getting fired and Skip Bayless bit on that hard, and the media was really quick to play down the whole thing. But fake report or not, the pressure is building. It's early, but fans are upset. The on-court performance is lacking, and even though Stephanie answered everything openly and diplomatically, I'm sure she's not thrilled Sophie told the world about the problems in the locker room and lack of defensive tactics, because now fans are going to be watching even closer. And as much as the coaching staff or front office may not like it, fans are going to call it out all day on social media, because that's what happens in pro sports. The bigger the stage and the more money you make, the brighter the spotlight. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and at the very least, drop a trophy in the comments to let me know you made it all the way through. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.